everybody. So my name is Josie, and I'm going to give you a little bit about me, as I know that we're going to have a series of shows coming up. And so now you can understand sort of where I came from, what I'm doing, and yeah, I'll get into it. So I'm originally from North Carolina. I came out to school in Arizona. I came out to Arizona for college, and I graduated with a finance degree and a French minor. I basically lost almost all of my French. It's been a few years since I've been in school, and because of the pandemic, I wasn't really able to practice it, but hopefully one day I'll be able to go. I love to travel to France and really get back into it and hopefully become fluent again. So that's a goal later down the line. But I have a finance degree. Ever since I was a kid, I was always really into finances. I wanted to work. So I would beg my parents for work. I just wanted to be making money, and because I knew that there was a lot of power behind it, and I was always really good at saving and managing it since I was a kid. So I wanted to help other people do that. Hence why I got a finance degree, thought I was going to be a wealth advisor. My path, like most people's, it ended up not being that way, which I'll get into a little bit later, but I've always been a hard worker. I had like 5 jobs when I was in college. When I graduated, I had to stay an extra semester, and my scholarship ran out. And I was out of state. So I did not want to take out a loan. I knew the interest, I knew what it did for people. So I just said, okay, game on. I'm gonna work 5 jobs and not have to pay off a loan. So luckily I had saved up for out of state, but I essentially got in-state tuition. And that was amazing because then when I graduated, I had some money left over. That's when I planned on using my French minor, and the pandemic hit immediately. So once the pandemic hit, I had always wanted to start a business. Entrepreneurship was in my blood. My grandfather had his own business. My dad had his own business. And I said, okay, well, I guess now is the time. I've got all the time in the world too. So why not now? And so I had to think, okay, what experience do I have the most of? And from my internship, I had 4 years of digital marketing or social media experience working with a local home loans officer, but I'd worked with a couple other people. I had somewhat of a client portfolio from people, so that was really cool. And I said, okay, like I already have a couple clients and I might as well make a business out of it. That's the most experience I have. I already sort of have it, so why not? So then once I started my business, I learned a ton, got into the digital space, got into marketing, wanted to learn how to market myself. I tried to grow out my Instagram, my TikTok, and my boyfriend was a gamer. He always grew up being a gamer. You guys will meet him soon. And he just had this love for it. He was always on his computer, always gaming. And then he started streaming, and I thought, I could totally do that. This looks easy. I'm going to give it a shot. It was a lot harder than I expected, to be honest. It definitely took a lot of effort, but I took a lot of the skills that I had learned from my digital marketing business. I thought, okay, I can do this better than most people because I have a marketing background. And I built up my TikTok. I had over 10,000 followers within a month or so. I posted every day, 3 times a day, and built that following. And that's how I created my funnel into my Twitch. So I worked really hard for that. It was definitely a journey, and it was wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So that is a little bit about me. That's a bit about my journey. I still have my business. I'm still streaming. I took a little bit of a break. I'm about to get back into it though. I wanted to really focus on my business, but we're about to get my boyfriend on here, and he's going to talk a bit about his experience. His gaming, like I said, ever since he was a kid, he's always been a gamer. He's always been into first-person shooters, and he was able to apply for partner on Twitch. So he's also had a different journey than me, and he did a lot better on Twitter. So we'll talk about a little bit of our experiences and what it's like being in a relationship with being gamers and advice that he has, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Hello. So I don't know if you heard me, but I was telling people a little bit about your background, but Nader, if you want to tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into your gaming journey.
All right. Well, my name is Nader, and I have been gaming for over 20 years now. But
God, we're
besides
old.
that, yeah, we're old. Besides that, I graduated from college about 3 years ago, and I had been working a serving job while pursuing a lot of gaming career stuff. And then eventually I flipped away from that and started working at a startup. So I've been working at a startup for the past year and 9 months. Besides that, I was born and raised in California, in Los Angeles. And I was there for 18 years before coming to Tucson, Arizona to go to the University of Arizona for college. I finished with a degree in management information systems. And yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but I'm here.
Okay, awesome. So tell us a bit about your gaming career. So I know that you've been gaming since you were a kid. What got you into it? Like, let's talk about that. Just a quick, like, high level overview, and then we can dive into some of the other stuff. But give us a bit about your journey, about even how you've been streaming, everything like that. The games that you've played. Yeah.
So all of that, I think, would start with me first gaming. I started gaming on the PC because my dad was a huge computer person. He was a computer engineer. So I always played computer games. There's a lot of shooter games he had. I played Quake when I was like 5 years old, which is one of the OG first-person shooter games. And so like I'd always been into games since then. Then one time I was in the 6th grade, and they had these Halo tournaments that were on like TV, like the actual TV, like I think it was like some weird like off-channel thing. But I was amazed by it. I was like, wait, they actually like compete in video games? I didn't think that was like a real thing.
What year was this?
That's 2008.
Okay. Oh my
So
God.
yeah, that was a while ago. But just when that was happening, it was Halo. I think it was Halo 2 that was being filmed at the time. Or no, it was 2006. It must have been.
The OGs are going to know exactly what
Yeah, I think it was 2006,
about.
but it was actually Halo 2 that was being televised. And just I was watching that and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I want to get into this. This seems awesome. But so then I actually like did the math because like I was thinking, okay, if I did this full time, how much money could I make? And I would only be able to make like $60,000 to $80,000 a year at the time as a professional. And I thought that was not like enough to like have a career. Like even I knew at a young age that was like not enough.
So some people right now are like shaking, saying, "Oh my gosh, I'd kill to have that, though." You know?
No, but so I looked into it and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem reasonable because gaming wasn't as big at the time. But lo and behold, as soon as I went to college, and right before college, I was playing like Counter-Strike and just any other shooter game that was coming out. I was always playing with my friends. College happens, I leave my PC at home because I'm like, hey, I want to go and just like actually be active in college and like meet people and not be like nerding out the entire time. So I missed like H1Z1, Overwatch, all these huge games that came out.
Do you wish that you had brought your PC? How different do you think it would have been? What would you tell other kids that are maybe debating bringing it to their dorm? And did you know anyone else who was? Or who
so I do know people that bring their PCs to their dorm. There's a lot of people that do. The people that I actually knew that did that were pretty healthy about it. It was actually one kid. He was I call him hacker because he literally hacked into the school's computer system in high school to change his grades, and he got in trouble for it. So the U of A was the only school he could come to. But he was not like a giga nerd. He was like a super intelligent, but also like super cool nerd. And you don't find a lot of those out there, but just like when it came to like nerdy stuff, he was so technical, like you wouldn't understand half of the things he said. But so some people can do that when going to college. Personally, I think it was the right move that I did what I did because I really think that you should be able to fully enjoy like that first year experience, especially if you're in like a dorm. Like try to meet as many people as you can. And you don't have to be friends with everyone, but just try to like say hi to literally everyone that you can, because it is going to be one of the easiest times in your life to like meet a lot of people. So you want to just go through and be like, hey, like just realize like, hey, like maybe the first 100 you're like, I actually don't like these first 100, but then you find someone that you're like, oh, this is actually like best friend quality or something. I don't
Well,
know.
my experience too, and I know you had a tough time as well, because we both came, you knew more people than I did, but I came not knowing a soul. And I didn't even realize being in the dorms, even if it was a little bit of a pain sometimes, but to this day, that's how we met. And that's how all of our closest friends are together. And you really do have to put yourself out there and just stick through it, even if it seems really tough. I cried when I first got there. I was with a bunch of sorority girls. It was only sorority girls. And that's just not the people that I clicked with. It wasn't my group. And I was so frustrated because it was the only people that were there. And yeah, I definitely think if you're going to college or anything like that, like talk to your people, talk to everybody, and just stick through it for at least a year to get past. Yeah.
I think that the first year is just the most important. Just go through that first year and push through it. Even with me, I think like my 3rd month in, I was like not having it. I was like, I don't think this is for me. I think I should go back. And it was a struggle, and it still didn't feel that way until even later. It took like at least another like 3-4 months before I actually started feeling at home. And it's just because you have to find that right group of people. And the only way to do that is to just keep saying hi to people, meet people. And then like maybe it takes a couple times of hanging out with them before you realize like they're good or not. So it's a process, but that happened to me, and I was happy the rest of my way through college, and it worked out for the best.
So would you bring your computer, or what would you tell somebody?
Oh, I said don't.
No? Okay.
I actually think that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Even if you're going to be coding for computer engineering courses, laptop. Just don't bring a actual desktop. You can always come back to that the next year, unless you plan on making gaming a career. If you plan on making gaming a career, then of course you bring it with you. But otherwise, if it's for fun, no. If it's for fun or for competing, but you can take time, no. If you're actually trying to make it a career, though, yes, you take it.
Okay, so then going after freshman year, how was your gaming career? Explain a little bit more.
Okay.
Once you brought your computer, you brought a sophomore year, right?
So my sophomore year, I bought a new computer because my old one just was too old. So I had gotten a new computer sophomore year during my 2nd semester, and just immediately started playing Counter-Strike again. And at that time is when PUBG came out.
Yes, I remember PUBG.
It was a crazy time because I hadn't played H1Z1, so this was my first like battle royale game. So this was like the first time having that whole experience of being with 100 people, like jumping out of the plane. Like it was pretty great. And for me being a lifetime gamer, that was insane. Like I had played games with only up to 64 people, which was still pretty big, but you'd never see everyone in the same spot. Yeah. So to have 100 and just like in the pregame lobby, you were seeing everyone right there next to you. It's like, it really is something else.
It was crazy because that was my first experience into gaming that you introduced me to, which we'll get into that. But I was like, wait, we're running around next to these people and they're all running around, and you can punch them and you can do like trolly things to them. And it's so funny. But I love the way that you explained it with PUBG for anyone who's not familiar, how it's like the Hunger Games, where you're all on a plane and then you drop out, because I had no idea. And that I loved the way that you explained that. And I thought, oh, that piqued my interest. And it definitely, for someone who wasn't a gamer at all and didn't even know that world, I was like, oh, this actually seems fun.
Yeah. And so that's actually a tip for people out there. If you're trying to get a significant other or just like someone that you like to like actually go and try to get into games, you want to reference it to stuff that they like. And so like Josie, I know she likes her movies. She likes her TV shows. So I was thinking, what's something that actually like really like hits the spot on this? And I was like, oh, Hunger Games, because even though it has way less people, concept is still there. Last one alive wins. So just comparing it to that was my way of getting her interested in the idea, and then her being like a trying person, she naturally was willing to try things. And
I'm so competitive too, and so I liked that.
She's very competitive, so she gets very upset when she first started playing. She was very upset all the time because she just like she felt like she could do so much more, but she just didn't have like the actual mechanical skill to do anything because she just started playing, and she didn't play on controller. She went straight to mouse and keyboard, which is like a lot of people don't start mouse and keyboard first thing. So I was pretty impressed with that as well. That was pretty ballsy.
I didn't even know that was impressive. And then I remember we went over to our friend's house. It was Kenny, and he was playing Fortnite, and I played one round with his controller, and I think I killed somebody or I hit somebody. And I was like, what? It took me forever to get a kill. I remember all my first kills in all the games, including PUBG. And it took me a really long time. But then with that, I was like, wait, this is so easy. But that's kind of the only time that I've seen the difference. But yeah, I still haven't really played controller. I'm kind of scared too, because I do think that the gaming world gives a lot more props and there's some more respect. Sorry to all the console players. I think you guys know it's kind of true, but there definitely is more respect there, and it's harder. And apparently I just like to do things more difficult or the more difficult way. So yeah. But okay, yes, continue.
So PUBG comes around when I first start gaming again, and I get really into it. So between playing Counter-Strike and PUBG, I'm putting in a lot of hours. One of the updates come out for PUBG, and I start playing solos. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to grind the leaderboard this time. And I got into the top 200 for PUBG for solos, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. And so I was like, And then I thought again, I was like, wait, what happens to all the gamers now? Like, how has it changed? And Twitch was becoming a thing. And so I checked out Twitch, and I was like, wait, you can actually watch. I mean, I remember what Twitch was before. It was actually called Justin TV. And I saw that and I thought it was super cool. But again, I thought it was just like a niche thing. Like, oh, like I'd love to like live stream and have people watch me. But I was just like, I'm not going to do that because no one's going to watch me. I don't make like YouTube videos or anything. There's no one that would like find me. That was like back in 2015. I was just like, that was before coming to college. I saw that.
When do you think Twitch became popular as a whole?
2015, 2016 is when Twitch started taking off.
You have always been ahead of the trends, I swear.
So seeing Justin TV and seeing how it was, because I used to also watch StarCraft 2 tournaments. And there used to be tournaments that were in Korea all the time. So they were always broadcasting them on all these different platforms. Justin TV was really popular for these streams. League of Legends, I started watching early things. I think that was still on Justin TV at the time. But then once Twitch became Amazon, I think that's when it became popular, even though that's when I didn't really know about the platform. But going back around to things, I looked into things. I was like, okay, well, is there money now in this? And I started seeing, okay, prize pools for everything was just like up for games. So you could actually make a living. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's like something I didn't see from before. Now there was more monetization ways. It wasn't crazy at the time like it is now, but people were able to make some money on YouTube. They were able to make some money from sponsorships. And it was actually like a real thing where you could support yourself, not just having to be the best in the world at a game. You could make content around it now. And content existed before, but you could only be with like one agency, which screwed everyone, I think, at the time. But so I saw it as a viable thing where like, hey, like people can make money now. So I decided to start competing with Counter-Strike. And the way that I wanted to start competing was through my college, because we had a esports program. The president of the club, who became one of my close friends, he was a big Counter-Strike player. And these Counter-Strike players that were on the team were like actual Counter-Strike players. I had a high school friend group where only 2 of my friends were like good at Counter-Strike. Everyone else sucked. So when we played, it was mostly for fun. And I'm competitive too, but like I like winning, I like competing, but no one ever wanted to compete.
That's the worst feeling. Ugh.
That was the bane of my existence. I always wanted to compete, even when I was like in the 6th grade, 7th grade playing COD, but I couldn't because none of my friends wanted to. And the one time I tried, everyone got beat so bad that they like literally just
they were scarred.
They just scarred. Yeah. It was traumatic.
They had their tail tucked between their legs and they just did never PTSD.
Yeah. But so coming to college, it was nice to actually be around good players. So I tried out for the team my junior year because it was too late my sophomore year.
Well, and because U of A has an esports club. Did you mention that? Yeah.
And so I went for the Counter-Strike team and I made it on the D1 team. I love my team. I'm still friends with all of them today. And actually, maybe this weekend, we're going to be seeing the CSGO major together because all of us just love CS. It's just, there's something about it. There's something amazing. Even though I don't play it anymore, there's just like a really good spirit to the game.
That was the first game that I ever watched competitively. And I thought we had so much fun. I remember we woke up.
Oh, and it was,
this was crazy. You said this was the craziest one.
So for Josie's first esports experience, like it was the Cloud9 versus FaZe finals of CSGO. And anyone who knows CSGO or esports in general, like knows that was one of the craziest games because FaZe was the favored champion to win while Cloud9 was the underdogs. FaZe starts like a really strong lead. I think it was like 2-0. And then Cloud9 reverse sweeps. Yeah. And just there's double overtimes, triple overtimes, just so much craziness. So for Josie to experience that and with a whole bunch of nerds that just like know their Counter-Strike.
I love my nerds though. I've always loved my nerds. And I grew up watching, or my dad, he watched football, like big football guy. And that was all we really watched. I could never get into it. I tried so hard. And then seeing CSGO, I was like screaming and so excited. And we all had mimosas and it was just such an experience. I was so into it. I was like, show me what's going on. It was so cool. I will say though, because that was my first, I think that I watched another one with you a year ago or so. And then I was kind of disappointed. I was like, that one was so good. And then the other one wasn't because that was crazy. Yeah. That was like in history.
Yeah. And I've watched a lot of esports. I've seen some crazy things over the years. And I've watched multiple esports. So between like StarCraft, League of Legends, Dota, Apex. Counter-Strike, Apex, all the Twitch rivals, everything, just COD, Halo. I've just been watching esports for a really long time. There are some of these crazy things that happen, and for her to have seen what she saw as the first was pretty lucky. Yeah, but that's cool. Through CSGO, I started competing with our college, and one of our teammates, he was a competitive player that was in MDL for ESEA, which was like basically a semi-professional league. He was that good. And he, very funny guy. I love him to death. We had a really good team essentially, but one of the issues was some of the teams that we played against, because it was all colleges. It's not like state schools. There are some smaller colleges that were ahead on offering esports scholarships. Yes. So there was a team completely comprised of basically like just right underneath a professional league for Counter-Strike. And it was the same team had a pro team basically, and they were for the college. So there was a lot of teams that were like that were really tough to beat. We ended up getting top 16, which I was really excited about. We beat ASU, which is our rival. So that's always a win. Yeah. Anytime that we were on a team, we did not lose to ASU. So that's something that I'm always pretty proud about.
You'll carry that with you forever. Exactly. As you should.
It was streamed. I'm pretty sure that I could actually find a stream of what happened. And yeah, it was. Yeah, actually, I think that we do have a stream still up somewhere. I need to go and find that. But so Counter-Strike was kind of my gateway into like actually competing. Loved it. And then
you did have a lot of ups and downs though too.
I did. It's not easy. Competing is not intense. Easy.
And also I didn't realize how much drama that there would be with teams and there's so much toxicity as well.
With my college team was great. That's the one team that I think it was like the most fun because like we were all competitive. We all wanted to win, but we also like had our fun together. Right. But any of my other teams after that, like I had some teams that with really nice people, but there were other groups that were just toxic.
Oh
and
my gosh.
People are just like stupid, toxic, just like immature. And it's like you kind of realize it because as you get older, there's so many immature kids. Like I thought, okay, usually like I'm under the premise that you want to find a solid younger kid to be on your team because there's always that underrated talent. You give them the space to grow, like they can become an absolute monster. But 99% of the people that were like that were terrible. I only had one friend that was like younger than me that I saw that was good, that actually went on to like being like really, really good. He's
now, Mr. Haculo?
Yeah, Mr. Haculo.
Yeah, he's Apex.
He was on what were the teams? He was on Furia and Xset. Yeah. But he's still competing. But when he first started playing, like he had no one to really like 3-stack with. And so he started getting into Pred and 3-stacking with our group, and
how'd just you guys instantly meet again?
It was through a random pub.
Oh my
Or
gosh,
not,
that's so
not a random
crazy.
pop. I think it was a random ranking. He'd like autofill. It was like some weird circumstance.
Some of
And
the
so ever
coolest
since we stayed
people,
together since.
some of the coolest people and the best people are from the most random things, or just being in a game, you know. And it's also some of the worst. But, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter what.
But so before that, essentially I kept playing Counter-Strike. I pivoted over to Fortnite late. I wish that I started early on Fortnite because I was pretty good at the game. Like I don't think and for coming in late, I think I came in the 4th season. I was no, not even the 4th season. I think 5th season. I was playing very well, and so again, we competed for the university, and we ended up being 2nd in our region. But they only took the 1st place team from each region, which was unfortunately ASU. It was a really rough game. We both played really well, but they ended up beating us. And even though that was disappointing, after that, immediately Apex came out as soon as that season was over. And so I was like, let me play this game. I love Titanfall. And it was from the creators of Titanfall. I literally, I think I pulled an all night. I know it wasn't all night.
You did.
24 hours. I didn't sleep. I skipped all my classes and just played a bunch of Apex.
Yes. So Apex came out, and then what was next? I know that you played Apex for a while. Did you play that professionally at all, or no?
So the first time around, I just played and I hit Pred in Apex. I started competing.
Wasn't it season 2? Nobody
season
says season 3, and a lot of people are like, that doesn't count as a real Pred, but it's because everybody was cheating, right? They were doing the F2 or something.
Yeah, there was people that were actually cheating. So for me to have actually done it, and I was, I think, in the top 1,000 at the time. So that's like, I feel like fair enough, because I think they made the cap 500, then broke it down to 1,000 again. So I did hit one of those marks. Like I think that I did really well, and I did get to compete. And even though I didn't do too well competing in Apex, it opened the doors for me to compete in other games, and I had a lot more success with actually games after that point.
Okay, so we were talking about Apex and how that was your journey with Apex, how you became Pred season 3, and then like continue with your journey.
So I continued to compete, became Masters, and in that time I decided to play some other games. So there was Splitgate, and when I was playing Splitgate, I ended up being top 100 in that game. And it was like really sad because that game had 2 different times that it had come around and gotten popular, and still ended up dying 2 times. There still was a competitive scene. They had money this time around, but for me, just been through what I've been through, it's not worth trying to stick for something when there's not much, because you have to put in crazy hours, and realistically, you could make more money having an actual career.
And so you've been trying to this whole time as well, like ever since you were a kid, you've been trying to monetize on this, right? So that's kind of the story that you're telling and why you're going into things that you have.
And so Twitch, again, was one of the best things to have. And me being part of my university club was really nice because it helped like kickstart my Twitch. I was able to actually like make friends, and like a lot of friends really supported me genuinely, which was really nice. Because you would tell, like, if I was streaming like almost every single day for like a couple of years. I would have like a couple breaks in between where it'd be like 2 months off or something. And I noticed how much that killed momentum. But I really did keep trying, and there was several times where I had like some big streaks. But having that small community of people that you knew was really nice. And it was like really funny because it started off with just like a small community of people that I knew. And even here in Arizona, there was people that like knew me that I didn't know who they were. Like I think I went to like a Subway, and someone was like, wait, are you Nader? And I was like, wait, what?
So hold on, wait. We'll get there. So with Splitgate, weren't you in the top like 1% or something of the world?
No, I was top 100. So it was top 100 in that game.
And how many people were in there? Like that was an impressive number for them right? Or
so I can't remember the total amount of players at that time. But I do know that it did hit the millions the second time around.
So yes, you were Apex Pred.
Well, so actually the second time around, I did hit top 100 again. I was top 30. Yeah. I think I hit number 27.
Yeah.
No,
in the world, right?
No, like it was actually it was 28 because my friends were 26 to 27 and I was 28. And so for Splitgate, we were in that top bit kind of
two and
annoying,
eight
which is
are
nice.
my 2 and 8 are my favorite numbers. So
Lucky numbers.
That's perfect. So you were pred, you were masters for Apex. I know you talked about your CS stuff. Then for Splitgate, you were in top 100, then top 26 in the world for that game, and then Hyperscape. That's when Hyperscape comes along, right? And this is where it was crazy for you.
Well, before that, so important to note, the pandemic hits in 2020.
Yes.
And I graduated college right before, and I'm thinking, okay, I can go and just apply, like go for a normal job. I applied and was asked to work at Geico and Enterprise, and both were paying they were paying like above 50 each. It was like 57 and 65 or something. So like they weren't like not bad paying jobs, but I was just like, I just graduated. I really don't want to jump into that. I feel like that's not what I should be doing. So
no, and then also like Geico or one of them, you had to work or was it Enterprise? You worked the weirdest hours. It wasn't worth it.
Like Enterprise was it was like 10-hour day. It was 9-10-hour days, not 8-hour days.
Yeah.
So I was getting paid for more, which would suck. But then Geico was like midnight shifts or like weird like early morning shifts or like late day shifts. It was like never like a normal schedule, which it's not necessarily bad, but that's just like also like not good if it's not predictable. Like that was just not enjoyable. And it was
there's a lot of bad reviews.
So just a lot of and there's just a lot of weird stuff. But I was just not about it. I was like, no, screw all this. So I decided to take the leap and start gaming. So
I pushed you to do that too, by the way. I'm absolutely fucking crazy. I don't know if we can curse on here, but
I already had a small Twitch following. I've been competitive. This is when I was in peak playing Apex. And I was like, I need to try this. So 2020 comes around. I really start trying to go professional or make this into a career.
My whole thing was, just to rewind, my whole thing with this was that I'd known that you always had a love for gaming and you were really freaking good at it. Like naturally, I mean, getting in those like pred and top 26 of these games, you were good. And I thought, we're young now. It's the pandemic. We have all the time. You might as well just take that leap. And because I didn't want us to get to 30 or 40 and then you look back and wish that you had done that, even if it didn't work out. Like you had to have tried it. You had to have, because you just don't know. So
yeah. And so basically 2020 happens and I start just before even the pandemic hits. I'm full-time, just like I'm trying this full-time. I had a little bit of money saved up. I was like, I'm just going to try to support myself and try my best and try to make this happen. And so full-time, it's happening. Pandemic hits. Pandemic hits. I go into pandemic unemployment assistance. And through that, I keep going for several more months. I was competing in Apex, and just what ended up happening was I swapped from Apex to Valorant as soon as Valorant came out.
I forgot about Valorant.
I think there was it was Valorant and Warzone that were out at the same time. Looking back, I should have just stuck with Warzone 110%.
Or Apex,
and
right?
stuck to it.
When
or
Apex
never left Apex.
Yeah.
The problem with Apex, though, was that I had missed most of season 2 because I got plat, but then I didn't really play after that. And so because I missed so much time in it, esports and these games are a lot about time outside of talent.
Right.
Usually the best players, they put in the most time into the game. They don't have to start in season 1 being the best player, but they start playing from season 1 nonstop, keep going. And they end up being one of the better players. So with Warzone, I should have just stuck with it right from the start and not swapped any games from there. But I took a chance with Valorant because I had a CS background. And with Valorant, I started competing with several teams. And I had one team where we really did try playing hard for a really long time. But then we had a really bad fallout with some of the players. So that was just full of drama, not fun. And it made me realize how childish a lot of these people can be. Yeah. Because this is my first time really trying between the Apex situation wasn't as bad when I left the team. It was still a little bit of drama against some people being childish. But playing Valorant, it was just dealing with so many more people. There's so many more emotions. And again, a lot of people are just behind their screens all day. You don't know what they look like. And so again, another thing too is that a lot of people are oh, hey, I want to go professional at gaming and I'm good at gaming. And there's a lot of people that are, but not a lot of people want to go through the actual motions of it. it's not going to be all sunshines and rainbows and win on a team. You have to play, get better, learn how to work better as a team. Some people might be lagging on the team. You need to find ways to either like compensate, improve, or like change things up to make things better, because sometimes people aren't like in the right fit, whatever. There's so many things you have to go through as motions, and it doesn't happen in like even a month time. It takes like months and months and months, and if not a year. Like a committed team for playing together for over a year will have much better results than you like swapping teams every 3 months. And that's what I realized with my Counter-Strike team, is because we played together for like literally a couple of years, and it was the same friends. We'd play sometimes separately, but we like competed together. And so we knew how we played, and it almost becomes like second nature, like just like when you're playing an actual sport. I used to play a lot of soccer. And so just like once you play with a team a lot, or with friends that you know a lot, you really do play much better. So after that, I started playing Valorant, got burnt out on Valorant. Things weren't going well. So I decided also I didn't like being on unemployment assistance. I went to go and get another serving job. So I was going to at least work part-time while trying to do gaming. So I started working at a Texas Roadhouse, and I hear this game is coming out called Hyperscape. And so I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And I see a couple of like things about it, and I see some gameplay on it, and I look at the gameplay, and it's a fast-paced battle royale, and it reminds me a lot of Quake, one of the first games that I had played. And so I was like, oh wow, like this is fast-paced, it's really heavy on aiming, like this seems like really tough but also like really cool. I was like, I want to try this out. So the first day it comes out and it's in beta, and I'm like, this is going to be my game. I start playing a lot.
Yeah.
I feel every single hour of my day playing this game that's not, at the time I was like waking up early to work out, and then I just do that or work. That was my schedule. Like nothing else besides that, because I had nothing else to do. So I was putting in like easily multiple 12+ hour days. And even when I was working, like I'd be having like an 8-hour shift, but still playing 8 hours in the day. So I was just putting in as much time as I could, and I was streaming.
And you were so good even naturally. Like I remember when it first came out and you were practicing, and you were just getting kills left and right just naturally on top of that practice and putting that time in.
And one of the crazy things is in battle royales, people make a big deal about getting something called a 20 bomb, which is when you get 20 kills in a game. And so I had not been good at getting a lot of 20 bombs in any of the other game, in like any of PUBG or
Apex, oh my gosh,
anything else that I'd done. Apex, no, I'd done close in both, but I just didn't have enough to hit that. But in Hyperscape, it was literally like every other game I was killing 20. Every other game I was killing 20. And I ended up having like a kill death ratio of like 35 or something throughout the beta, which is like, insane. If you think that, it means I literally kill 35 people before I am killed. Many? And out of like 100 people in each game. So like literally, and I wouldn't even be dying every game. So I'd be playing and I'd like win 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row without dying.
Yeah.
And it just kept stacking up.
That's
and
crazy.
So it was, once I'd seen that, I was like, okay, like this is really my game. So I'm playing, I do really well. I end up becoming the #1 wins in the beta. I'm like #1 in North America for snipes. Like it's just all this like #1 stuff in like NA North America. So I was like, holy shit. Like I'm starting to feel it. Like even though I'm still working, like I'm like, okay, I feel like this is going to be it. Like I really need to keep pushing. But the problem was there was no tournaments or anything coming out. So I'm like, okay, there has to be an esports scene. So I created a whole Discord with my friends, and we started getting like all of the best players together in there. And we built like a huge community of almost like 1,000 people that all were like the best players in the game, just like playing, competing. And in that time, there was a Twitch Rivals that had happened, but we didn't get to play in it, even though we were doing really well. Then they had another Twitch Rivals, and this one was different. They decided with this Twitch Rivals, there would be an actual tournament, and they would bring in affiliates. And this isn't like heard of. Like they haven't done this with other games before. So they were allowing people who were affiliates to compete. And if they won, then they got put into the main Twitch Rivals tournament. So I ended up playing with my friends. Our main third had dropped out. And so we had to pick up a new third. And
I just want to say too, throughout your entire Hyperscape, I felt it, you felt it. That was supposed to be your game. And when we say
really
that,
was.
like if you're familiar with Apex, of course, which I hope because that's my main game, like he would have been the ACU of Hyperscape. And we're not, like I'm not just saying that. Like
this is what actually had happened is that with Hyperscape, I started picking up a lot of viewers, like really fast, because they saw that I was number one in the beta, and so that started getting me a lot of attention. And a lot of these big streamers would finish.
And they think that you were cheating.
Yeah, there are a lot of people.
Everybody's like, "Who is this guy?" Yeah, and then
they
they come in and watch your stream, and then they'd be like, "Oh my god, you're insane."
And it was really funny that I had a lot of people accusing me of hacking, but it was just because this is like felt the most natural to me. Like so besides skill wise, like I was really good at the game. I was getting a really big following and I was supporting all of these people too. What was happening was that at the end of my streams, I would be sending like, it was like at first like 20, 30 people to like all these other like friends of mine that I knew that were good. And then it was like, I was starting to send 40, 50, like 60, 70, and I was getting hundreds of viewers every like day. Yeah. So I think I was getting like up to like 350 at one point. That was like the most that I had like on a consistent.
That is tough. Like for those of you who don't understand Twitch, like even if you get above like 10 average viewers, you're already in the top like 10% of all Twitch streamers out of the millions. So to get 350, like that's in the top 0.01 or like 001 or whatever. That is so impressive. I have never gotten there. I don't know if I will, but fingers crossed one day. That's like crazy.
And so that was like a really big boost for me. And so like of course, with those numbers, I was getting a lot of subscribers. And so I was getting subscribers, donations, all these things. And so I started making money. But the issue that happened was that even though I was number one, I was like getting all this attention, and then I was also spreading that love to people. And then in return, like those people stayed in my streams and kept supporting me too. So it became almost like this huge community network effect where it's like, I'm helping people love me. They keep coming back to me. And it was like really wholesome.
That's when people would see you too. Like and that's when they would see me walking on University and we went to Subway and someone's like, wait, are you Nader? Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, that's my boyfriend. It was like, oh my god. And then we went out to another place and he got recognized again all within a week, and I think it was 3 different times when you got recognized, and it was crazy because you were becoming this like mini celebrity in a sense for at least Hyperscape. It was crazy.
And so it was very brief though, because what ended up happening was the game itself was just a very difficult game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people nowadays, like, unfortunately, like there's no reason for them to play this game if it's difficult when they can go and play Warzone or they can go play Apex that they already know how to play and they're like marginally better. It's just not worth trying to learn a new game. And especially when you got people like me who are so good, just running through people. It's not like, it really is not fun. So that was my first taste of actually like making money like from that. And then I got to compete in Twitch Rivals itself. It was really cool, an amazing experience. I would love to be able to compete again. But outside of competing for Twitch Rivals, there was other opportunities that I had. But so basically from there, with Hyperscape losing its player base, like literally in the millions per day, like it was just like instant, it was a very, very, very sad. It would have been the game though, if it were to have blown up equivalently to like Fortnite or anything like that. I would have been one of those up and coming streamers that was just like came from nowhere, like huge, like whatever. It would have been my cash cow. Like that's how I would have had a career in gaming, all that stuff. It's just that the game itself, it just did not attract the right market. So
also, didn't they have other issues as well that they didn't fix?
There is a lot of other. The major issue was just I think it was too hard of a game for a lot of people. And they should have been, again, people that I like making only a battle royale game, but there needs to be more still. That only really worked with like Apex and a couple other games.
Yeah.
But I think that it could have been fleshed out better.
I have to say too, even from somebody, because this is, I think, before I got into Apex, or it was around the time when I started getting into Apex, because I remember like the only reason I got into Apex was because you were playing it so much and I wanted to participate. And it was kind of like PUBG a bit as well, so I could kind of understand it. And then you switched over to Hyperscape and I wasn't interested in it. I was already set on Apex and I hadn't really been streaming, but even for somebody who hadn't known Hyperscape or even like new gaming as much, that it was so cool to watch you. Like when you were getting your 20 bombs every other game, it was so, even my dad, like our parents would watch him on stream. His mom was in there. She was so cute. And then my dad, who didn't even understand, because I'm sure a lot of gamers get this as well. If they're family members, it's common that people are like, what's Twitch? Or why do people watch you? Or why do people like watching people play? It doesn't make any sense. But if you just tell them, it's a lot like football, you know, if it's a sport. And so I was explaining that to my dad. He was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And we would watch him in his tournaments. And it also sucked for you because you, like, I felt like, and this is what I always said too, even when you were in it, it felt like it was always something, whether a teammate dropped, whether somebody was being toxic, whether you ended up getting farmed or your internet crashed. Like, it just felt so unfair, your whole journey. But I just think it wasn't your time. I still see like a future for you, and I know that you love it and it's just in you. But like, I felt for you so bad. It really just seems like.
Yeah, I don't like to blame it on other things, but it was just unfortunate. Yeah. This genuinely, like, there's a lot of things that it did happen. So
I'm the first person too to be like, no, your ass, or no, it was something else. And even seeing it secondhand, it was so frustrating. I was getting so frustrated for you because it really was things like internet. It wasn't just because you weren't good, or it wasn't just because of the team or something. Like, it really just felt.
Internet itself wasn't one of the issues. It was just there are so many things out of my control that kept happening.
Right.
And just because it kept happening, things out of my control, like if things are out of my control, I can't blame it. And then on top of it, just a lot of people are non-committal. So having to deal with like hundreds of non-committal people on top of it it's tough. But so after Hyperscape, I decided to take a stop with gaming and just focus on career stuff. So I started working crazy hours, got into crypto, got into NFTs. And then through NFTs, there was NFT gaming tournaments. And so there's a couple of competitive tournaments because of NFTs.
I forgot about
this. And so that actually rounded out my overall earnings because of gaming, which was crazy because all of a sudden it gave me a second avenue again to like try and do this again. So I did get a second chance, and I did make some money. It was from PUBG. PUBG was the game that made me a lot of money. Right? So PUBG, I actually made quite a bit.
Okay, hold on. I wanna pause for a second and explain for those of you that don't know. NFT stands for non-fungible token. It's become very popular lately, especially in the last couple of years. It's basically how I like to describe it. It's a digital asset. So let's say that you have an art gallery and you walk in and there's an artist that has 100 different pieces. And you say, oh, I want to buy that piece. And they're all from that same artist, but there's some unique traits about it, or maybe they're totally unique. It just depends on the artist. And so an NFT is basically like a collection of digital art in a sense. And then some NFTs of that, like let's say that you have that painting, some of them also have real world utility or online utility. And what utility means is, let's say that you buy that piece, then that gives you access to like a club that you wouldn't be a part of, or like a subscription you get, or like a membership, or you get like
a network of people. So there's a lot of different things that can be done with it. I know some people have mixed opinions of NFTs though. So just overall, 99% of things in that world can look like scams or be scams, but there's an actual good 1% of things that are genuine, that have real value.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about the price, it's about the technology and how cool these things are. So it's really promising. There's a lot of cool things with it, but regardless, I was able to actually make a good chunk because of that.
I guess the best way I should have described this, because we're talking to gamers, is like getting a skin in a video game. If you get a skin, that's like your NFT. That's how I should have explained it. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So
we're talking to gamers.
There you go. So yeah, like with CSGO, I have like a rare knife that's worth right now like $400, $500. Yeah. And so with that knife,
like
it is like basically me owning that knife is like me owning an NFT. I can go and sell that NFT off to someone else, or I can keep it myself, but it's digitally my asset. If I go log into my Steam account, not on my computer, on someone else's computer, and log in, my knife is there for me. So it just follows me wherever I go. That's basically the basic same concept as an NFT, except you get to sell it. You have full ownership of it. A lot of cool stuff. But I think...
Talking about the NFT, what was the NFT called? Do you want to explain that, the specific one that you...
Yeah, so actually it's Alex Becker's NFT. It was called Neo Tokyo. And so Alex Becker, he's a famous YouTuber, and he had created this NFT called Neo Tokyo Citizens. And there's all these riddles and crazy hoops and ladders that made me want to, like, I really hated them, like, a lot of the times. Like, it was really effing annoying, but it was worth it in the end because I made some really amazing connections. It gave me a chance to game and compete. And even though I don't have the NFT any longer, I plan on getting back into the community at some point because there's some really brilliant people. And like, I mean it with these NFT things. It is one of the best ways to be able to get away into a network when you don't have a network.
Like Ryan Pineda hired you. So Ryan Pineda is a real estate mogul. I actually was on his marketing team first, which is crazy. It's such a small world, I swear.
So we both ended up working with Ryan Pineda just at different times. So I helped create like a guild for all that gaming stuff to go on for Neo Tokyo at the time. And so it was really cool being able to work with them because like I'd seen his YouTube videos. So I was like, oh shit, like that's super cool. And I wanted to get into real estate for like years and years. So like it just lined up with cool things. I was like, oh, that actually seems really interesting. So regardless of NFTs, you are able to network with some of these crazy people that you never would normally have access to. And it's kind of crazy how you're able to like get through to do those sorts of things.
I'll also say too, this is a whole other separate topic, but just to briefly touch on, I swear gamers were the first ones who really like were a part of NFTs. They were already doing things like the digital assets, like you were saying with your knife, and building community, which were the two biggest things with NFTs. And it's funny because Steam was thinking about, or their comments on NFTs, they were like, no, absolutely not. We're not interested. And I just found it so funny because both those worlds really were so similar. And gamers basically were the NFTs. So, but again, that's a topic for another time. So it's just funny how that works. Okay, Nader, I think we should go over some of your clips now of Hyperscape because you have some really, really good ones.
Yes, so
let's take a look and see some of your top clips from your glory days of when Hyperscape was a thing.
So just to give a background about this, I'll just play the games.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it. Okay.
Did you hit it?
Okay, wait, go back and like slow-mo or do it frame by frame if you can, because I think that people didn't. It's so...
Basically, what happened here is that it was the last person alive, and I went in wanting to go for a trick shot because a lot of people who have gamed, if you play Call of Duty, it's pretty common. So I do a 360, shoot my shotgun, reload it, do another 360, go pull out my other gun, do another 360, 180, one more 360. I snap and do a graffiti, and then snipe the last person right there.
Look at that. That's the Thanos snap. I love that. The
when you see it, it seems like so much is going on. But basically, it's just one of those moments.
Yeah. You're like, yes.
It's basically one of those crazy moments where it's like, I wanted to entertain. And for me, like, you have to be realistic about how your entertainment comes across to other people, because that's how you can maximize your actual like Twitch experience. If you're just like a boring person that doesn't really talk and you don't have a social personality, but you're insane at games, a lot of those people usually don't use a camera and they focus just on the gameplay, and just that alone can make a lot of people popular. But so there's other people who can be somewhat entertaining. With me, like, I feel like I've got a mix between being competitive with also having a lot of skill and being somewhat overreactive. So as you can see, just like, I'm like,
so we'll talk about
just like
that.
In the air, just like ready, just.
I think we should talk about that on the next show. There's things that I want to dive into about like tips for streamers and stuff, which I think will be helpful. Yeah. But let's do like 2 more clips, or at least like a few more. Yeah. Let's see some more.
Absolutely legendary.
That, oh my gosh, you make it look so easy. And that was so far away.
Yeah, and so it's just really crazy to be able to see some of these.
And do a slow-mo to that part.
So with this, just to show the start, so what happens here is there's a teleport ability in the game. So this thing right over here, basically it's like a flash in League of Legends. You just move to wherever you're aiming. So I teleport, I decide to go and do a 360, and snap. And then I realized there's someone that's probably on that building. I didn't actually see him. I just guessed. And lo and behold, by the time I did my double jump, he was right there for me to hit him. And so it was just impressive to see these things happen in this game because like, it was hard to do these things, but everything's happening so fast that little decision of just looking to the side and going for something.
And on M and K too, mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then again, just like I tried to make like really good, and these facial reactions are what really did help push me because I feel like a lot of people said like, oh, you got some of the best reactions when you hit cool stuff or like funny things. And that's what I realized. I had to really make sure I emphasized doing that besides having high quality gameplay and trying to be engaging with the audience. So just, I think what you said is you wanted to go with some tips for streamers.
Yeah, we'll do that next time.
Okay, but I do have a YouTube and stuff as well that have a bunch of montages of all of my crazy clips.
Yes.
And so that's something always to check out with a lot of the people. If you do find that they've got cool stuff, you can always find it on YouTube or TikTok nowadays.
Yes, exactly. Which we can also dive into some strategies there, which we will do next time. But anyways, Nader, thank you so much for being here and talking a little bit about your journey. I feel like we literally just hit the surface of it. So hopefully next time we can dive a little bit deeper because there's some questions that I wanted to ask you and maybe some advice for people. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being a part of this and can't wait to see you next time. And thank you again, Nader, for being a host on the show.
Anytime. It was a pleasure.